Hi everyone, welcome to the part 2. In this part 2, I have to show the practical example of the previous theory taught in part 1. So I have created one for, so you have to create, you have to install Visual Studio. Inside that Visual Studio, create one folder. I have already created folder. So I'll go to terminal. This terminal, here I have a project 2025, that's a folder we have to create, and we have to install the first React, right? npm install npx, right? Because React app, right? React app, what I have to create is counter project 2025. So what I'm telling, that create a React application inside counter project 2025 folder. So uh, installation keeps working. Before that, let's talk about something else, right? Previously we talk about React Redux toolkit. I mean to say, not a Redux toolkit, that's a React Redux, right? What principles follow for unidirectional data flow? Can you tell that? What are the principles? We have to ensure or import a unidirectional data flow. So you need to understand the state, right? So let's, right, already state, describe the entire application state. So entire application states defined by state. So action is there, right? Action means dispatch to indicate an intent to change the state. So there has to be certain actions, right? Those actions need to be defined. After that action need to be used in a reducer. Means what reducer does? Reducers process the actions and returns a new state. And another, we talk about store, right? Ultimately at final components, we call it as a store, right? Holds the state and notifies subscribers, means React components of changes. So that's what we need to define, right? I see this application also installing. So let's, right, we are using counter project. For that we need to install first Redux, right? How we can install Redux? So same thing, right? npm, there is a website, there is a library npm, right? From there we can install the Redux. So let's go to these folders by copy and paste. Look, we are inside this folder. Just ls means list directory. So we can see a lot of things. So we have to install npm. Remember this script, npm install Redux. Then what? Which Redux means React Redux. We have to install it. So it will, after if it is installed, it is append some information here. You can find React Redux 9.2.0 above version. Maybe when you install it, that Redux version might increase. So that time you need to consider, see Redux is installed and React Redux is also installed. So we need these two packages. So after that, what we have to do, I'm not going to start npm start. I'm going to create one folder inside src. That folder name is action. So we talk about actions, right? actions. Inside these actions, I will create counter actions dot as. So let's talk about this folder. What we have to consider inside actions. Do you know that previously what we talked about, what we should keep inside actions? You know what? Dispatch to these things, right? Dispatch to indicate and intended to change the state. That's what action does, right? So we are defining, first we are defining actions. Means let's talk about actions. So actions types, right? Action types. What might be action types? Export, constant, increment, right? What type of action is this? We are exporting this increment actions right? We can use it in some other application by calling this increment. That's why we are exporting this. Export means somewhere it is going to be import. So there is another things, export constant. Decrement also we need it because we are going to make a counter functions, counter applications. So there is another things explained in documentation, export constant. No, I'm not going to reset it. I'm going to mention that increment by amount. So it is nice that my VS Code is automatically populated, so it made easy for me. So I'm defining increment, decrement, and there is increment by amount. So just remember these three things: increment, decrement, and increment by amount. Increment means when we click, the number gets updated. Decrement means when we click in decrement button, the number gets decreased. Increment by count means you are manually giving 25 and pressing add button will automatically increase the number. So action creators, I can call it as action creators. So I am defining these things: export, right, constant, increment, right, that which increment we are using, INCRE and increment, right? So I'm mentioning arrow functions over here, right? Arrow functions, what type? If somebody calls this increment, what it means? It means what its type? Its type is increment, right? That's what I need it here. Likewise, I have to do for, let me paste, better pasting. I'm just pressing tab button, my editor gives automatically. So constant decrement type is decrement. So another thing, export constant increment by gives me what it gives me. This increment by amount means there is an amount will receive from the step, right? User will give the amount, so that amount type should be increment by amount. If that type is found, means payload equals to amounts, means this is updated, this payload is updated by amount. Whatever the amount user gives in a front end, that amount is updated in a payload, means definitely the good practice. So type and payload, and here I can give you one definition for easy thing. Each action is a plain JavaScript object with a type property and optional payload that describes what happens adhering to the read-only state principles. That's what you need to remember. That let me give you some small comment over here so you can really understand, right? So this is what happens here. Actions, each action is a plain JavaScript object. This kind of is object only, right? Inside that, type property is there, this object, right? Arrow function object, there is a type property is there. What it is, an optional payload is there. I need payload in increment by amount, that's why I used payload. Otherwise I have not used add two functions, right? JavaScript arrow functions only used here because I have to type manual. That's why that describes what happens adhering to the read-only state principles. Okay. So previous definition, what this tells. We talk about state is read-only. We talk about that in actions, right? The only way to modify this state is by dispatching an actions, which is a plain JavaScript object describing what happens, right? These things is met. Fourth area of Redux, there are three principles, right? One principle, second second principles. This is the second principles. Maybe multiple line comment also accepts in Java. I see. This is what a multiple line comment. So we have to convinced that this is the second principle. State is read only. The only way to modify this state is by dispatching an actions, which is a plain JavaScript object describing what happened. Type. So we have given type here payload, right? What I have given payload is a arguments or parameters received through client, right? Client gives argument. Here through parameters we have received and we have saved in a payload. So here this ensures predictable state update, so we can update it through this kinds of things, right? So this is what happens. Do you have anything else to ask you? It is very easy. Where action type means we are defining what actions we are calling increment, right? Easily. So we can, instead of writing this increment, right, it is better to write in this way, because we are going to use this in a several places. This increment, decrement, increment by amount. So we can use it in a several place by placing export and defining variable type. Okay, so this type is increment. Let me copy that here also, right? So let's talk about another thing. This is create the reducer. So step 3, we have to create the reducer. To create a reducer, so let me make a same thing, same folder here called reducers, and here I have created actions. Here reducer, what I do in reducer is counter reducer.js. So counter reducer.js, right? First of all, I need to import these things, increment, decrement, increment by amount, because I need it in this application. So increment is there, decrement is there, increment by what? Increment by amount is there. So I need these 3 things. So I have imported here, right? From where? Counter actions. So I can make separate folder for this, but better I have placed it here, right? So it is easy for me not having repeated codes. So that's why. So I have imported these things: decrement, increment by amount. So let me define initial state. Also I have to define for initial state, same thing. What is the initial value in that input or maybe output form, right? So initial, there has to be no increment, no decrement. So better to place a 0 number over here. Initial count state, right? Initial state count, initial state value, I will place it as 0. So it is good, right? It is good. So let me create a reducer function. So here I have what I have done. I have done initial state value is 0. So initial I have created, value I have created as a 0. So I have, this is the reducer, counter reducer. So I have to create a functions. So that function's name is, I have defined this type counter counter use reducers equals to what this reducer take state. In this state, what initial state means in this state there is a value of 0. Initially the state is 0, there is nothing. So I have to just a moment, create actions. Actions, right? So this is not the one I did. So this is the actions. So this is one of the error functions. So some people used if statement for achieving this. So better I will use the switch case. This is easy one. So it is recommended for me also switch case my actions actions dot types, right? Action dot type, action dot type. If action dot type case, if there is a case increment action type means you got it. We are placing this type is increment. This is the actions we are exported. So these actions, if this actions type is increment, if the action type is increment, then what we do? Tell me what we do. We just return what? We just return all the state we have to return, then value state dot value plus 1. Okay, so this is the counter functions requirements met. Increment means what? First of all, there is zero value in this state, just this operator we destructured all the elements it takes. This is three dot dot operators. We can something I have just, we are getting all the value of these states. Do you think what are the value at initial? There is 0. Then now update the value with state 0 plus value plus 1. You mean to say state value is 0. We just, if somebody press in this increment, just increment by 1. That's what it means. So update the value by 1 and place it in a store. That's what it tells. So let's go to decrement. Case decrement, what happens? Return, same thing. Case decrement also same thing. First of all, state value plus to state dot value minus 1. So means just decrease it. Decreases by 1. If somebody press decrement, receipt reduces 3 actions it type. If decrement, then value becomes reduced. So increment by amount, there is another thing is there, right? Here is little bit different. Okay, you cannot just press like this state value equals to state dot value plus something, you cannot press it plus 1 or something, you cannot give, because you have to give action dot payload. So there is payload value received. Payload is received, right? If payload is received, so this case we have to define like this. So ultimately, if nothing is there means what? We define return state. If nothing is there means return statement, there is nothing. There's 0 value at initial. That's what it defined, right? That's what is defined. Okay, you got it. You understood this function, what it does. Initial, there is 0. So this reducer, what this reducer does in previous session, do you know? Process the action and returns a new state. Process the action. This what reducer do? Process the what it automatically gives. All the states change based on the dispatch actions. This is also nice definition. I may call it old state changes based on the dispatch action. Through actions, this reducer received, right? Actions dot type. Action dot type is increment. Then all the state value and update value with value plus 1. So whatever the value is there at initial will just increase by 1. That's what it happens. Decrement after the value is there in state, decrement value by 1. That's what it happens. So state by amount means increment of whatever the value is there in state, right? Value is 0, then action dot type, whatever the received by users, sent by users, that you have to update in increment by amount. That's what it does. So ultimately doing this is not enough, so you need to export default counter reducers. If you export it, then only user can use it. So if I give you some definition, single source of truth, right? This is what this made the reducers functions. What do you call? Right, this is changes are made with the pure reducer function. Reducers are pure function. So we have defined core theories, right? Reducer is based on 3 fundamental principles. There is one theory called, do you understand? So it satisfies these theories, right? Let me format document with format, maybe I have to manually define. So this is the definition which supports the thing which supports. Okay, so this supports. Changes are made with, this is the one principle. Core theory, three fundamental principles. First principles. Okay, this is the first principle, and one more I can give it to you. There is another things I have noted in a document. So this is what, and this can help you better understand the scenario. So this is also the one scenario which you can use it, right? So I can enter it. Okay, this is also the one which you can use it. Okay, so this is, I may call it as a one sub point, right? Maybe you can call it 1.1, right here. So 3, you can call it 3. Okay, so see what happened. Let's first principle, changes are made with pure reducer function. Reducers are pure function that takes the current state and actions. You definitely current state, this state, you know, right? And actions as an input. So this is the action types, right? And return a new state. So it is returning the new state. Got it? If case something happens, so return the new state. That's what happened. And we more depth we define in session that is upcoming, right? So we'll conclude this application in this session only. So second state is read only. The reducer creates a new state object using the spread operator. Oh, that's what I forgot it. Spread operator. The reducer creates a new state object. Spread operator first of all gives all the value, then ensure immutability, update it. Okay, pure reducer function. This count reducer is a pure function producing the same output for the same input and having no side effects. So that's what I have concluded this reducer over here. Okay, so I have developed actions, this type of actions, right? After this is the third principle, second principle, and we have discussed this first principle, reducers. And there is another thing is there which you have to discuss, configure the Redux store. So I will not make any folder of store, so I'll just out of this, I think inside this SRT directory store.js, I will explain. I'll just create it and create create store.js, right? Maybe I have to forcefully import create store from I have to, maybe it's a legacy code, so let's what it tells. This is create store is declared, what is value is never read. Create store is deprecated. It tells that if it is deprecated, what other way we can use it. See, if you want to use this create store, you can define like this. So this is deprecated, might be it's okay for our course. We are using it, so we use like this. If it is showing deprecated. Okay, so count reducer, so we call that count reducers. Okay, now create the Redux store. Now let me comment. In order to create a Redux store, constant store, so create store. In create store we have to call create store, right? In that create store we have to place that counter reducers, and we just export it like this, right? If there is multiple, we have to give one curly bracket inside of it with comma and multiple these things, reducer, we can store it. So now export default store, right? We are exporting this store, so this is fine. This is the third principle. I see changes are made with pure reducer. I need to say single source of truth, right? Maybe it is somewhere, maybe it is first principles is successfully we have implemented. I see this is the first principle used. As this is the first principles. This is the first principles. Single source of truth. The entire state of your application is stored in a single JavaScript object called stores. This centralized state management, making it easier to track and debug. So this is what happens here. This is what happens. So we are calling create store. In that create store, I have placed the producers and I have exported that. So there is a one final steps. There is, I can call it as a step 5, connect Redux to React. So how could I connect this Redux to React? In order to connect this Redux to React, we have to call several things over here. We need provider. We have import provider from React Redux, and there is, I need two things. One, provider, React Redux call provider, and store from this store. So what this is what we have to register. Maybe I think below that rustic mode I have to mention provider store like this, and provider close string bracket, and just shift it up, and this is the final. I see this is what we need to do it. Then what is happening? Provider has no corresponding closing tag. Yeah, there is a thing. Corresponding closing tag means this is the corresponding closing tag. So this is the step what we have to perform. See, we have to register, might be something registering in an entire application, index.js. Here we need to call provider from React Redux store, which we have already stored here, and we have to wrap up these things. Between this we have to place this app. So this is the final. Maybe there is one more thing we have to make changes in an app.js. Let me clear all the things. I don't need it. So I don't need it. So I need one more thing you have to understand. Okay, so you need selector and useDispatch. Okay, selector and useDispatch. Why do you need selector and useDispatch? Means you have to, why do we need selector and dispatch? Selector and why do I need? Tell me. I will just comment it here. Okay, purpose of selector and dispatch, right? We are using selector and dispatch. Why do we need selector and dispatch? Selector means reads data from the Redux store. For reading data we need selector, right? For dispatch, provide a function to dispatch action to the Redux store. Why do we need? Means dispatching. Okay, so let me comment here and let me make more clear. Okay, look, selector, use selector, right? Maybe it's a use selector. Okay, what is the purpose of use selector? So we are using here read data from the Redux store state, but if from there, if we would like to read the data from Redux store, so we use selector. So why needed? Allows components to access specific parts of the state. So means if I need counter functions without directly accessing the store, keep the state read only and enabling automatic renders while selecting state changes. So example, so I need this is the application example. So state, I have to go to the state. Inside that there is a counter is there. Inner that counter there is a count. So gets the current count. If I need current count, I have to use useSelector. So there is another thing you need to understand, that is useDispatch. So why do you need useDispatch here? Okay, I just comment it as a two number. Here purpose. What is the useDispatch? Provide a function to dispatch action to the register. We are dispatching actions to the Redux store. Right, provides the function to dispatch actions dispatch through reducers. We need useDispatch. Why needed? Actions are the only way to trigger state changes in Redux. So useDispatch lets component send actions. So through useDispatch we are sending actions like increment, maybe decrement, right? There is another thing, increment, decrement. There is one more thing is there. What is that? Increment by amount. So through actions we are using this thing. So let's import what do you call useDispatch, useSelector, right? That's all we need. No, we need more information. This in order these functions. Now okay, I'm not going to confuse you. Just two things right now. Afterwards we need some more things from Redux. Okay, select the counter value from store1. Select the counter value from Redux store. So how could you select? Constant you define, count you define, and use. I told you, right? Using useSelector you can select the value. Which value? From state, right? Which value you need it? I need from state. What value? State dot value, right? Whatever the value is there in state, give me in count. So if I know, if I want to know the value, so we can select the state, using selector. I can use this state value. Okay, so another thing is dispatch. Let me getting function dispatch means, okay, all state dispatch, use dispatch, getting the dispatch function to send actions. So if I would like to send actions, I use dispatch. If I select the store value, what is value is there, I use useSelector for selecting the state value from the Redux store. useDispatch for getting dispatch function to the send actions, for sending actions. Okay, these two things I needed. So let me give one more thing. I can call it as a React Redux counter, right? Like we can say React Redux counter. So let me give yes2 value. Just give count. Okay, let me count. Which count is this? This is the initial count. What is there in the store, right? Using dispatch, we are going to send an actions and values gets updated. So, okay, then what other thing we can do is, let's create a button, right? Button for what? Button for increment. Alright, button for decrement, button for increment, increment by, I mean to say increment by amount, okay, that's what I needed right now. Let me capitalize. So this is the three things. First, initial value, what I see in the interface is 0, there is nothing. Why 0? Loop reduces, initial value is 0. That's why I see here count value is 0. So let me using increment. How? If I click on increment, so value need to update it. So how will we achieve that functionality over here? How? Using on click. We are clicking, right? That's why on click Now we need to what we need? Do we need useSelector here or dispatch? Getting the dispatch function to send actions. We are sending actions, right? What actions here? Dispatch. Inside dispatch we are sending what actions? We are sending increment actions. From where that increment actions? From counter actions. Yeah, this is what we need right now. We need these things: increment, decrement, and increment by amount here, because we are sending actions to where? Send actions. We are sending actions to producers. So increment. Another is decrement. Another is increment by amount. So we are sending these three actions. Got it? First action is decrement. Increment by amount. These counter actions. From here we are sending actions. Got it? So let's go. On click here, right? Dispatch. What I am going to dispatch? This is ultimate function, right? So you call it. If I just place name increment, sorry, will it work? No, because this actions is a functions. So we have to define like this. Okay? For same thing for decrement. On click. Dispatch decrement. So it is decrement. Okay? Here also. On click. Dispatch increment by what? Increment by amount. This is what I am trying to calling that. So this is one small typo error. So we can call these things. Okay? This is what happens. Increment, decrement, increment by amount. So this already exported. So can we just check it out? What happened? Shall I run this? Let's check it out. Our app. Let's see our apps. What our app tells that. Okay. Something happened. Let me copy and paste here. And let's see what this is the very hard work we have done it, right? Sorry. So increment, this is increment, decrement, right? Increment. So what happens? Action must be plain object instead action was function. Needed by to set up. So just a moment, okay? Somewhere this project needs to be refined. Okay? This project needs to be refined somewhere. Just a moment. Okay? So finally you can see that it works. Okay? Finally you can see that it works. Got it? It works. This increment and decrement works. Okay? See? Increment, decrement. Look, increment and decrement works. Okay, let me check what this error is. Okay, let me check out. This is okay. This one is fine. This one also fine. So increment by amount, this is also okay. So yeah, we can, this is a functions, right? So you can manually, we can give 5 and 6, no? If we give 5, so it is incremented by 5. So manually, well, we are just giving the number, right? Right? There is one task I can give you here. Test task maybe. We are giving 20, right? 20 means here 20 numbers added. So this React Redux is functional here. So there is a homework for you. That homework is, instead of typing here 20, 30, right? Can you make one input box somewhere here? Can you make some input box somewhere here and keep and place that 20 numbers there and increment? And if you change number and increment, can you make that? So I can give you a small hint. That is homework for you. You can make some step. Okay, that is homework for you, but I'll give you some hint. Okay, number, set number. Okay, number, set number, use state, give initial value at 0, right? So so I need you to make some input box. So input like this, input type, sorry, like this. Wait, this is fine, I think. See, input type number, value is number, unchanged. What unchanged do is set number. What either target dot value. So on click, what this on click do? Dispatch increment by what? The number, add number. Okay, so you can place these things over here like this. Okay, if you comment this, I think this works fine. Let me check that. Increment, decrement, give some 200 increment. See, it works fine. This is the homework for you. Again, if I commented that, now you tell me. I'm giving you 2 minutes to do the same thing. Okay? This is also I have erased. Can you do that? If you can do that, if you successfully done, you just comment it. Else, let's do it. Constant, keep, add number, set, add number, right? So use state means initial value, state value is 0. Okay, initial state value is 0. So there is add number, set add number. So let's go down somewhere here, right? First create an input box. Input type equals to number. Then what? Type is equal to number. Then value you need to give, right? What value you give? You will give this add number value. Where? Here. Then after that, what you will give? You have to give unchanged functions. What this unchanged functions takes? The unchanged function. What it does? This unchanged functions call set add number. So you call set add number, right? What set add number does? Set add event dot target dot value. Okay, value. So there is event in every unchanged function has an event. That event has a several properties. There is one property is called event dot target dot value. That event dot target dot value has a number and change that thing to number. Somebody may place digits and something else, right? So that things need to convert in a number. So you can call it like this. This should be fine. Okay. Somewhere error occurs. Where is it? Where is that? What it tells? Somewhere div. Where you find out there has to be closing tag, right? Now it's fine. Now what we have to do? We are able to place a number, right? That is fine. We are able to place a number, fine. Then that button we need a right button. What this button does? button has to dispatch, right? What dispatch? What it will dispatch? It will dispatch these things, right? Dispatch these functions. Instead of usually I have to place 5 and 8, right? Instead of placing that, you just give call number, whatever the value is there, that value just give it here and increment. What do we call that functions? You can call it by amount, like this. You call this function's name increment by amount. Now let's check it out whether it works or not. See, increment works, decrement works. Okay. So I need you to add one more function called reset. How will you do that? See, it also works. How will you do that? Do you have any idea? How could you add reset function? This is fine. Our expectations met. To add reset functions, where you will go? My questions for you. First of all, you go in actions, right? Actions. There has to define reset functions. Where you will define reset functions? Here, right? What you call export constant. What do you call yes, it is reset. And then reset is defined. Action types, you have defined resets, and likewise you need to export constant, right? What you'll define reset. Okay, re as reset, right? Like this, you have to define reset functions. What you'll do, reset functions, type reset you define. That's all here. Then what? Then another thing, where you go, update reduces, counter reduces is there, right? So here you will update reduces. Where you have to update? You tell me now. Where you have to update reset functions? Here or before here? Yeah, before here, right? Add one more case. Reset. Sorry. Yes, reset. Right. Return. What will return? Return what you return? Okay, you are going to be genius, right? State value, you give it what? 0. So it will reset. Okay, reset. So here reset also automatically called. Otherwise you have to import that reset also. What another aspects where you have to update that reset? Do you know where you call it? Tell me where you need the reset functions. Tell me where you need the reset functions. Reset functions you have to you need at last. Like add reset function, same thing. Button on click. What? On click. Only braces. Sorry. On click, right? Only braces. Inside this, you need dispatch. Okay, what you call reset. Reset means first of all you have to import reset here. Okay, reset is imported. So here reset. Okay, reset. So let's try reset works or not. Increment, decrement, reset means okay, increment by repeat. Now increment. You got reset means 0. So this is the final tutorial. Hope you like this. Thank you so much. We'll talk about Redux Toolkit in part 3. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.